One thing can be definitely said about Pixel devices is that they get better over time. There's actually two things that are pretty certain. One, we'll get consistent monthly updates from Google for our smartphones. Two, these updates could typically also include new features, new benefits, things that we didn't have in the past. Even when it comes down to their Buds Pro, we're actually adding, or they're going to be adding, spatial audio to them next month in the next update for them. So the biggest things I'll probably say is, in this review after using it the last 2 months, my phone not only got faster, but it got better and it got new features literally just 2 days ago. This is TK and this is my review of the Pixel 7 Pro. I've used it for the last 2 months, and of course talking a little bit as well about using it with the Pixel Watch, the Pixel Buds Pro. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So we're going to start off by talking about the configuration that I have. This is really the review for the Pixel 7 Pro, but I've been using it with the Pixel Buds Pro. These were released a few months ago with the Pixel 6a, and of course the Pixel Watch, which was released alongside the Pixel 7 Pro. So along all of the things that Google released this year, these would be literally the best of the best that they offered. The Pixel 7 Pro, this is the configuration in Hazel. This is one of the options. There's a few options available. The Pixel Buds Pro are the latest edition, featuring some of their best features as far as audio, and of course coming with a spatial audio update in January, which unfortunately we don't have yet since we're in December. But the overall performance here is that things get better over time. We just got a feature update that pushed up to the Pixel 7 Pro and earlier generations of Pixels that improved some of the options in there, from not only the ability of being able to actually customize labels when you're using the voice recorder. When it recognizes two people are talking, it separates the speech. All the different functionalities that we get there. And of course, the Pixel Watch itself, this is an LTE model. I have it connected on T-Mobile here in the US. And of course, it runs really good. It runs still about a day worth of battery life. It did get better since original launch, so that's something to keep in mind. Battery is getting better, but that's typical with any Pixel device that we use. The longer you use it, the longer the battery lasts us, and the better the device knows us and actually does better. And as far as the storage configurations, you can get all the way from 128 gigs as far as the low end at entry level, all the way to 512 gigs, and that's going to be the maximum. There's a 256 model in between. 12 gigs of RAM is going to be standard across the Pixel 7 Pro lineup. And what we're getting as far as the cameras here is we have a triple stack in the back, a 50, 12 megapixel, well, the 50 is going to be the primary, the 12 megapixel is going to be the ultra wide, and a 48 telephoto camera, which is similar to what we had as far as last year's the Pixel 6 Pro. A triple camera setup that enable us to actually distinguish between the 7 and the 7 Pro, where the 7 drops the telephoto and sticks with the primary 50 and the 12 megapixel ultra wide. On the front, we have a 10.8 megapixel camera, and one of the main benefits of the 7 Pro is the fact that we can shoot 4K 60 frames per second across the camera. So meaning I can shoot 4K 60 on the front, and I can also shoot 4K 60 on the back. So specifications overall, those are going to be basically the standard configuration. Of course, there's different colors. We did an unboxing on the channel. The Pixel Buds Pro are also very nice. They're featuring SBC and AAC as far as audio, charging them pretty quickly, wirelessly or wired, and of course you have different option colors that you're able to pick up. The Pixel Watch is pretty much standard. You can get different colors, but essentially configurations either Wi-Fi or LTE, and you are able to buy the LTE model and just use it as Wi-Fi for whenever you don't want to use the LTE. I will say that though the LTE will drain the battery a little bit faster at approximately 10% an hour, so that's something to keep in mind if you are straight up on LTE. The benefit though is when you set it up as a companion, which is what T-Mobile requires for me, all the notifications from my phone go straight to my watch, even if I'm not home, even over LTE. And we will respond through the watch, it sends it straight back into the phone. So that's one of the biggest benefits. And of course, we're running the latest version of the software, Wear OS 3.2. Android 13 with the latest update, with December update, of course. And this one did get an update as well within about a month or so ago. But again, the biggest update will be in January. So let's talk a little bit about what makes me enjoy, what makes this configuration some of the best options you can pick up on the market right now. First and foremost, let's say for Google Play or Google Services type of an experience, Pixel's devices are going to be the best. There's hands down, since the Pixel 3, it's been basically a continuous improvement over improvement over improvement over improvement. And again, what I mean by this is an example of an application that I can go ahead and start recording and talk to it normally, as if I'm actually talking to somebody that's listening here and talking to me on the system, and it records so quickly, so efficiently, because if you really want to start talking to people and really change these conversations, this is what's going to have to be the system that gets you in there. Overall, what we're getting here essentially is a system that can recognize. Now, the system is smart enough to recognize that this was not two separate people, but you saw it when it separated the system, and that's because that's one of the options that it has. The really nice thing here obviously is I can use this transcribing and services even when I'm sending and receiving text messages. And I love the fact that we can do punctuation, response, answering, continuous audio recording when you're using the Gboard as a keyboard, using Gmail, using the functionalities directly from the system. And one of the other things that we have here as far as custom options are the tools that we get specifically on Pixel devices. Now, we have the unblur tool. This is something that's also new that just came out. We also have the ability of using magic eraser, portrait blur, and some of the other options as well is getting the ability of using a VPN now, free VPN that was pushed out with that feature drop. As long as you have the Google One application installed on your Pixel device, you'll be able to get a free VPN access, and that's going to work great, specifically if you want to be extra secure on, let's say, on a public Wi-Fi and you don't know if that Wi-Fi is secure enough. So some of these things I'm talking about obviously are Google centric. This is things that come in specifically on Google devices. The updates that we get every month, definitely built into Google devices because Google devices get them first. And it's one of those things that we always appreciate because as every update comes out, new features get added, our device gets better, battery life gets better, and that's what just keeps improving. Overall, one thing I will probably say is as far as the buds, as I mentioned to you guys in the beginning, AAC and SBC is going to be the best. We do support LDAC as well, but the Pixel Buds Pro do not have that. That's one thing to keep in mind. Now, as far as one of the things of what happened to me, where was I before going into Pixel 7 Pro? What was my configuration prior to this? I was using the Z Fold 4. The Z Fold 4 is Samsung's latest smartphone. It's a flagship smartphone, but it's a foldable smartphone. So I always appreciated having that bigger real estate. The Pixel 7 came to and became somewhat of a star for me because up till a few years ago, I would say the Pixel 4 XL was my favorite Pixel device prior to the 7 Pro. The Pixel 6 Pro did a lot of right things for me, but it had there was a few things going on with Android 12 first launching there. There was some hiccups at the beginning, software concerns. And those are some of the things that we had to kind of learn with Tensor compatibility and other things with applications on the market. Those things took some time, and by the time Pixel 6a came out, things got a lot better. By the time the Pixel 7 came out, things became perfect. The Tensor G2 had a much better launch date with Android 13, which is again a more optimized version of Android 12L. Definitely benefiting everything in there. And of course, we get that ecosystem experience here all across. So those are some of the main reasons why I enjoy this. Qualities of the pictures, the ability of editing these pictures, utilizing these pictures in social media posts. And I'm talking about like the ability of taking pictures, just tremendously amazing pictures. I'm talking about daylight pictures, the HDR processing, video recording, everything that we're talking about here are definitely very enjoyable. So one of the biggest things I'll probably say at the end of the day is that if you like Google services, the best experience will always be on a Pixel device, be it the Pixel smartphone, the Pixel Buds, or even the Pixel Watch. But ultimately, what made me leave the Z Fold 4 was software issues and slowdown with updates. First and foremost, I will say this. Third-party launchers on a smartphone from Samsung lately, ever since I think One UI 4.1, has been an issue. Gestures don't work, and if they do work, the recent application gesture almost gets borked entirely, and customizations are almost non-existent because what you're essentially running is you're fighting the existing launcher, which is the One UI launcher, to be able to use your own custom launcher. Not that it's not a great launcher, I just personally prefer Nova Prime, and that's going to be my system of choice. And then of course the other thing is, although Samsung does get a lot better as far as getting their updates out, for some reason the foldable devices that Samsung released later in 2022 are the last to even get close to Android 13. I think if I'm not mistaken, they're on beta right now, but the S22 Ultra received it and is receiving updates on basically running on Android 13 for the last month or so, while the Fold 4 and the Z Flip 4 still don't. So for that functionality alone, I started to realize that I really needed something a little bit more. I'll talk a little bit about charging and different configuration, but also the Fold did not get the fast charging that the S22 Ultra did. So that's also one of the other things that kind of got me at the end of the day. When I talk to you guys about Google services, let me ask you a question. You could do this right now as you're watching my video, or I probably would say wait till the end of the video, but try this out. Open up your device or go into any situation where you need to start typing and click the button that says start audio recording. And obviously starts voice to text writing. This is one of those biggest things that I really appreciate. One of the other things that I really like about the system is the ability of writing in punctuations, capitalization, and when I'm done, I can just say the word send, send. This is something that you can't get with any device. The speed that I was actually doing this on this device is ridiculously fast. The accuracy of which this was doing is also ridiculously fast. And this is one of the things that really drives me crazy when I'm using devices, let's say Samsung devices, because those devices are still technically utilizing the cloud for some of the processing, meaning if there's not a good stable internet connection, the service that I was just doing in front of you would take literally a few extra minutes, if not even get borked. I've seen devices are so slow that it's not even usable, where you finished talking and I'm waiting for it to write. Samsung devices are not as bad, but it is a lot slower than what you saw right there. So that's one of my biggest things. Again, Google Photos in there, the camera application, some of the functionalities we have, portrait mode, motion, night vision, the ability of jumping in and doing cinematic video as well. And of course, we still have the ability of using panorama, photosphere, and lenses. And I'll talk a little bit more about the camera experience in a little bit. But the gesture controls, very accurate, very quick, very fast, and very, very functional. The ability of utilizing search options, calling them right there, and I'll give it a second. The ability of also using the wait to hold. So one of the biggest things obviously there is that it's transcribing for me automatically. So if I start this conversation and I'm not listening to it, I know exactly what's going on. I can ask my assistant here to wait on hold for me. I can ask it to make a reservation for me. And of course, one of the biggest things is true or clear call that was just pushed out with that the last update that we got with the feature drop. Now we're going to start off by talking some of the biggest things. First and foremost, I talked to you guys about the charging speed that was on the Z Fold 4. Unfortunately, that kind of mirrors over here. Charging speed on the Pixel 7 Pro is not the fastest, but it is faster than it used to be in the past. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So overall, what we're getting here is still somewhat of a slower experience considering the fact that, we have Oppo going into about 80 watts. We're also seeing OnePlus going in also to 120 watts in the US. We also see other devices from like Vivo and some of the other companies, Xiaomi going in as well. So everybody else has been going much faster as far as charging speed. And of course, as far as I understand, Pixel as well as Sony devices are still somewhat around the 30 watts or so. So that's one thing that kind of got me in there. So overall, as far as just kind of everything working here. The other thing, there's a few little bugs here and there with the software still running. Every once in a while, I'll unlock my device and I'll go home, and I know every time I try to swipe home and try to launch an application, the gesture just doesn't work, and I end up having to basically lock the device, unlock it, and of course it works perfectly fine. Now, one thing I will say, unlocking it using the face unlock works very nice, and it's definitely something that we've wanted to return to Pixel devices again. Since the Pixel 4 XL, we had a project solely over there and we lost that functionality. So now we have it back and it works really, really nice. Now, the last thing I will say though, I do hope that we see better codec support in future generation of Tensor, or maybe even updating the options to be able to use more codecs available on the market. We seem to see more and more companies coming up with specific codecs running for them. Samsung operated their own codec to provide us better audio processing. We see obviously there's aptX, Qualcomm specific option, aptX adaptive, aptX lossless. A lot of options being pushed out now on the market to give us better audio. LDAC is one of the greatest options that we have. We don't have LHDC on this, but I feel like at LDAC at this point it runs great. The Pixel Buds Pro do not support LDAC, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So SBC is going to be the best situation or best audio codec that we get. They sound great. It's going to give you good battery life as well. Charging them straight either by wirelessly over here by reverse wireless charging, or definitely using them via the wire. It's going to work really nice. Pixel Watch runs really good, and I feel like of all the watches on the market right now, this runs Wear OS the smoothest, even better than Samsung devices. And I love the fact that it's easy, it's simple, I can integrate everything into it. I have maps sitting on the left, the notification toggle here on the top, accessing Google Home services, airplane mode, find my device, settings, and of course, right now it's connected via Bluetooth, but I'm able to switch over to Wi-Fi if I step away from my phone, and even LTE if I leave the house. A lot of these things are very, very nice, and I love the fact that it incorporates the Fitbit functionality. Now, I realize that when you see the advertising from Google or some of the other companies, everybody touts that they're the best at running Google services because that's essentially what they're selling. From using devices on the market right now, one of the biggest things I'll probably say is this. Pixel devices are intended to be the closest to stock experience as we can get. Now, we are talking about Material U. This is definitely built in here. Google started making their own skin. That's what Material U is on Pixel 7, Pixel 7 Pro, and most of the Android operating system running Pixels that have run since Android 12, they've all shifted over to Material U. That's going to be the closest stock experience that you can get. You can install a third-party launcher and run it on this, and it's going to work great. Voice over LTE works perfectly fine. Speeds on this are crazy. And the better improvements in antennas enabled me to actually get the fastest internet download speeds when I've run speed tests on any device that I have, which is crazy because for the most part, I have many unlocked devices that are supposed to feature some of the best connectivity on the market. But the Pixel 7 Pro seriously takes the cake. Over 1,000 down, and I'm not running on high band, I'm talking about mid-band LTE on T-Mobile here in the Los Angeles area. So when it comes down to connectivity, productivity, fastest running device, and when it comes down to just basically speed and performance, I feel like the Pixel 7 Pro does it. And if you're considering getting a Pixel in 2022, the Pixel 6a is also going to be a really good contender. The camera configuration changes a little bit when it comes to the A series, so that's one thing to keep in mind. But it's a great champ for a really good price at about $440, and you're getting a great device there, a mid-ranger, but keep in mind, it's running the Tensor G1 with all of those optimizations that I talked to you guys at the beginning, meaning all of the growing pains we had to go through with the 6 Pro and the 6 last year. By the time the 6a came out, it was already kind of fixed. So you're getting definitely the best bang for the buck in that experience. The Pixel 7 is a great entry into the 7 series, and I feel like you get a really good experience and feel of what the Pixel 7 Pro can do. But the Pixel 7 Pro is really where it kind of takes into the next level. The better display, the higher refresh rate, of course the camera, the additional camera that we have, and the improvements on the camera on the front makes the 7 Pro for me a better choice. It's a little bit more to get into, but I feel like the configuration and the benefits that we get in there will come out and will stand out to you in the long run. When you're trying to take pictures of your kids, your family, and you're not close enough to be able to jump into that picture, a telephoto lens always becomes more functional. When you're in that moment, you want to take pictures of a group and you want to be able to get a great ultra wide, that's also going to be really good. But the shining star of this entire experience is always going to be the primary lens as well as the telephoto lens. 4K 60 is going to be the best that we're going to be able to record, and that's one of the main things you want to keep in mind. It's not that it's a limitation. I feel like 8K is nice, but it's just not usable now yet. We don't have functional options. We don't have devices that support 8K, and sharing pictures and images that are running at that resolution are just so large that it makes no sense. 4K 60 is always great. I always shoot for it. That's why I produce my content there. So if I'm using my device, the 7 Pro, to create any B-roll or anything like that, this is going to be where I put it in. So to kind of summarize everything in here, this has been something that I've been enjoying for about 2 months now, and this is why I wanted to share this with you at this point. We got the device literally almost at launch day, so I didn't have any kind of pre-launch experience. My experience with this device has been through updates and one major feature drop. Everything works great. There are, again, a few hiccups here and there, but again, at the end of the day, when I'm talking about it is, as a whole, the experience with the Pixel 7 Pro, the Pixel Watch, and the Pixel Buds Pro is absolutely not only well balanced, but delivers a consistent, great performance every single time. This is TK. Thank you very much for the support. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.